I really like Persona, but you know what I like more than that? Money. This is one absurd fact about every other Persona character. Okay, God, imagine if that was just the full intro to the video and I didn't say anything else. So a couple months back, I did a simple but kind of fun video about giving the most absurd fact I could find on every major Persona character. That video did surprisingly well, and I wanted to make a follow-up covering the supporting characters. So this isn't going to include every social link, but it's going to include all the other really important characters that weren't party members. If this video does well, I'll make one on all social links, but in the meantime, let's actually start this one. Starting with... It's implied that Chidori wears a gothic Lolita dress regardless of the season because the Persona suppression drug she takes prevents her body from regulating temperature. This is supported by the attires of both Jin and Shinjiro. In Jin's boss fight, a part of his gimmick is that he's able to identify and target the party members' weaknesses. He even has a quippy line about how no one can hide their weaknesses from him. However, there is a unique line of dialogue that can be heard if the player resists all of his attacks with their currently equipped persona.
Damn you! You've covered up all your weaknesses. Are you too afraid to face them?
So it would be kind of low-hanging Garden of Eden fruit to make this fact, oh, Takaya is kind of based off of Jesus because of, look at him. Oh my God, he's called Revolver Jesus in the fandom. Isn't that so funny? So we're gonna talk about something else. Apparently in the base game and FES, Takaya is supposed to have a second phase of his boss fight after he drops below half health. But due to multiple coding errors, it never triggers. This was rectified though in Persona 3 Portable and Reload. Ikutsuki works at Gekkoukan. Okay, this really isn't a fun fact and more so just blatant fact, but in all the times I've played Persona 3, I never consciously paid attention to the fact that he's like a chairman of the school they go to? I guess I just always autocorrected my brain to him being the chairman of like the building or the organization of C's. Like, you have multiple party members join the dorm who aren't students at Gekkoukan, so I guess I just never paid attention to the school affiliation to that. Regardless, other than that, this character sucks and has nothing interesting to say about him other than he sucks. So comment in the comments below, a comment if you thought he would... In Persona 5, during class, Kawakami can ask the student, what's the name of a woman who uses her charm to lead men to their doom? And one of the possible answers is the name Elizabeth. This is, of course, a reference to Elizabeth from Persona 3. Okay, full disclosure, this might be my favorite fact I've ever found out from these videos. But not only is the voice actor for Theodore married to the voice actor for Kotone, but the same is true for the voice actors for Makoto and Elizabeth. Both pairs of the Persona 3 protagonists are canonically married to their Velvet Room attendants in real life. That's so cool! During early stages of Persona 5's development, it was planned at one point for Igor to be the one to start social links instead of Sai. There's unused dialogue and a handful of social link animations on the internet kind of showcasing this. I don't really know where to find all of them, so just throw up on screen what I could. Alright, I want to put out a formal apology for the first part of this series because I completely forgot to make a fact on Yukiko. I think what happened was I mentioned in Yosuke's fact that she was also at one point planned to be the killer and just kind of remembered writing something for her because of it when I didn't. But here's another fact to make up for this blatant error. The English voice actress for Yukiko Amaki, an interesting character in her own right that we won't expound on too much today, had a YouTube channel entirely dedicated to marijuana. This has led to the eloquent in-joke with the community simply called Yukiko Weed. I was looking up this topic on Google to find the chuff in a joint picture we used from this video. Yukiko! And then I found this in the like suggested images. This brings us one step closer to the which Persona characters have reviewed their own feed. Are you guys glad that I remembered to talk about Yukiko this time? During the development of Persona 4 Arena, Arc System Works had discussed the idea of having Dojima as a playable character. And instead of summoning a persona, he'd summon Nanako? Atlas wasn't a fan of this idea, and this is actually the worst creative decision they've ever made. That would have been so funny. Nanako is incorrectly cited as a DLC navigator in Persona Q2. when in fact, the only Navigator DLC was for Persona Q1. Did I update the page to rectify this? No. But maybe one of you can. Maybe you guys can go check the page and let me know in the comments if I ever get it fixed. Other than that, with her inclusion in Persona 4 Dancing, she has become the youngest playable character in the Persona series, overtaking Kanamana. That reminds me of the other time they fought.
Your mouth, little boy, pull the trigger on your toy.
In Persona Q, when the Persona 4 cast is introduced, they're all posed to reference JoJo Bizarre Adventures characters. Margaret was also drawn in the Joseph Joestar pose in her Persona 4 dancing artwork. This might be the most recognized fact in the entire video. Marie makes a reference to Him Daisy's, I actually don't know how to pronounce it, the Persona 4 comic dub. When she is offered a beefsteak, she will shorten it down to the phrase, "fa-steak." This is, of course, a reference to this clip.
GA, do you know any other words that start with F?
For steak?
Excellent!
However, what you might not have known is that Undertale, of Sans fame, also references this joke. When you buy a face steak and your name is either Drag, Gigi, or Gugu, I'm assuming these are all related to the comic dub, the face steak item will be abbreviated to fa-steak. Now, to be honest, this is one of my favorite facts to tell people about Persona, but I really don't know why face steak or fa-steak is the one that got all this special attention. The Persona 4 comic dub is art, but that is probably one of the least funny jokes in that series. All right, I'll make this one quick because you're pretty familiar with the drill around here. Figgyz are a line of 2.5 magnetic little collectible thingies. I genuinely don't know how else to describe them. They can either be displayed on your desk or stuck to fridges like magnets. They're honestly really cool, and there's a lot of Persona ones. I believe they just launched a brand new wave of Persona 5 and Persona 3, but in the meantime, I have some of these. These are cool. Honestly, they're not all that expensive. They're pretty cool. I've got a link in the description if you want to use it. Consider checking them out. So in part 1 of the series, I actively left out Yoshizawa so I could discuss her in a potential part 2. But people just didn't realize I did that intentionally in part 1 and tried to tell me as if I forgot, even though I blatantly put on screen she is going to be talked about in a part 2 alongside all the other DLC party members. Like, come on guys, I would never intentionally forget to talk about a playable character. So as rectification, I'm going to give you 2 facts. For starters, I have never on this channel said her first name, that I know of. I do this to try to conceal the twist events at the end of Persona 5 Royal, but honestly, it's been 5 years, I should probably just give up the bit. But did you know her story was almost entirely different? Rumors and coding allude to Yoshizawa being at one point planned as a female protagonist alternative to Joker, like Katone was for Doorknob. Not only can she wield Joker's pistol and knives, but she can actually equip any weapon without crashing the game. While I've purposely tried to pick up some of the most obscure facts I know for all these characters, I can't deny this simple universal truth that every Persona fan knows. We all know Maruki is fucking the bear, right? Sai had some very serious shifts in direction during the development of Persona 5. Not only at one point was she going to be the guardian of the player, but voice lines left in the game also indicate that she was at some point a potential romance option. I hope neither of those things were true at the same time. That kind of lead to a power imbalance in the relationship, and I don't know how I feel about that. Caroline, Justine, and Lavenza are the only Velvet Room attendants to never refer to the player as a guest. The twins will refer to Joker as inmate, and Lavenza will call him trickster. There's actually not a lot known about Jose. He's one of those characters Atlas just kind of threw in, gave some very vague details about, and then never expounded on. Like, this is the list of trivia to work with for him. While there isn't anything crazy official to mention here, a lot of people have theorized that he's going to be a Velvet Room attendant in Persona 6 due to his affiliation with the Shadow World, his yellow eyes, the blue car, and his peculiar and strange feats. In my opinion, I think he was just a bonus character to throw into Royal for, like, you know, new content. I don't think he's gonna be some grand player in the Persona mythos.
Toshiro is the only Persona 5 universe character to not have a full outfit transformation upon summoning their persona. He appears to have a mastering his awakening, but his clothes stay the same. It is speculated this is done intentionally to symbolize his newfound self-confidence and represents how he sees himself as someone who would stand against injustice. Also, his birthday's on April Fool's Day, so maybe I'm just lying and made all this shit up. I don't know.
Hey, if it wasn't abundantly clear, that last segment was recorded by Patreon member VixMix. For the next few months, anyone who is a $10 or above member has a chance of cameoing in one of my videos. I'm not going to go into the whole spiel, but I could really use the extra support to put towards bigger series. Please, if you like my stuff, consider sharing it on Twitter or, joining the Patreon. Anyways, moving on. Okay, serious spoiler warning for Persona 5 Tactica. I said Makoto died at the start of last video, and people got mad at me about spoiler warnings for a game that came out like 15 years ago. And there was a spoiler warning on it! What were you talking about? Oh, right, shit, Arena. Arena is the only Persona 5 universe character to fight without the use of a persona, and the third in the modern Persona trilogy next to Rei and Zen from Persona Q. This is due to her being described by Morgana and Novenza as the interesting combination of a cognitive being, persona, and shadow all at once. Rei had a lot of concept art depicting her with wildly different designs, a lot of them dressing her in white clothes to better contrast Zen's darker apparel. Alright, Zen only had 2 interesting facts about him. One of them is a repeat and the other is a major spoiler, so skip 20 seconds if you're worried about that. The first fact is that Zen is the only playable Persona character to be a deity. The second is, wow, could you guess that? Zen had a bunch of redesigns too. Awesome! I love Persona Q. According to an interview with Yuta Aihara and Daisuke Kanata by the Dengeki magazine, I'm sorry, I fucked one of those words up somewhere in there. Just like the other original characters of Persona Q2, Hikari was very difficult to design as they were afraid that the new character would not stand out. Aihara wanted to create Hikari as a character that appears bland and unassertive, but the designer feared that they would just create a normal NPC instead. Eventually, they came up with the idea of a girl aspiring to be a film director. Several of the initial designs resemble regular schoolgirls. 2 of them can be seen holding Jason Voorhees' mask, and another one is similar to her final design. Also, my younger sister in real life voiced her in the Persona Q2 fandub I directed back in like 2021. Now she's voicing Yoshizawa, and I made her throw up in a trash can. No one laughed at that joke. Okay, so this fact is about Ryoji's origin of name that I blatantly copy-pasted, but I don't really know how to phrase this, so I'm just gonna put the text up on screen and you can read it. His name means like moon in purpose, I don't know. I don't like Ryoji. Pharos has the only fully voiced social link in Persona 3. Sophia's third unlockable master art, Blast Processing, is a reference to the marketing term Sega used when advertising the Sega Genesis. When Sophia is being controlled, Zenkichi advocates taking her out rather than risk being defeated themselves. In the boss that fight occurs, he's the only one whose AI is programmed to actively attack her during the encounter. Metis shares a lot of similarities and narrative ties to Shinjiro. They both are the final party member to join for a brief period of time, both are the Hierophant's Arcana with personas that never evolve, both have a focus on physical skills with neutral affinities, and even in FES have the exact same stat gains despite having pretty different movesets. Additionally, if the game is hacked to put Metis in the great condition, her icon will glitch out and her name will be changed to Shinjiro. In BlazBlue Cross Tag Battle, Labris has alternate colors referencing Kotone Shiomi, Aegis, Lavenza, Penny Pelendia from Ruby, Lene from Under Night and Birth, and Lambda 11 from BlazBlue. I lost the plot halfway into that fact, it was just a bunch of noise. To this date, Sho is the only character in the Persona series, as well as the first wild card, to reject the contract to the Velvet Room. He is also the first character with the potential of being a wild card to use his abilities for malevolent purposes. The second being... Alright, I wanted to at least include some trivia about Wonder as a compromise to the Persona 5X fans in the chat. But there's honestly not really a lot worth talking about with him as far as like crazy unique trivia goes. So here's a clip from my stream that I did when I played the game live. People have free will after all, so speak up and use it. That is a crazy sentence to drop in the fucking chemistry hallway. Imagine like someone cuts in front of you in line at the cafeteria and someone's like, hey, back of the line. And you're like, hey, thank you, that was really nice of you. And they look at you and they're like, you have free will as a human being, don't be afraid to use it. And that's pretty much going to cover it for today's video. Sure, we could divulge a lot more into all the social links and maybe some Persona 5X characters if I gave a shit about any of them and liked that game. But I think we'll save that for a potential part 3. Go ahead and in the comments leave who you want a fun fact on, and tell me what your favorite fact of this video was. I bet it was the Yukiko one, you sick fuck.